I believe a lacuna has been created between that Supreme Court decision and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We all swore, I swore to uphold the Constitution, but the law is the law. If the law says, if the law is in conflict, it behoves on us to look for our own homegrown solution that will ensure that we have transparency, we can operate, and our people, because when two elephants are fighting, the grass will suffer.
We've got Mr. Ibrahim Abdullahi here with us. He is the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain. Thank you, everyone.
So, following that judgment, listening to the governor, it does suggest, maybe. What is the thinking within the party? Is this similar perspective within, members of the party in terms of what is the implication of that Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, for the People's Democratic Party, we are quite pleased for the first time with this development. You would bear us witness as people who are expected to play opposition. And as a major opposition political party, we seem to have disagreed with this government from inception on some of the policy direction it has taken. But on this very one, we are fair to the government. It's a child of necessity, the autonomy for local government. We would have done same, and probably earlier than it has done. So it's a commendable development in our polity. It's something that we have welcomed. We are on a page with the government. We have supported it because, come to think of it, Nigerians have been groaning for as long as 25 years today since the return of this republic because of the absence, if you like, of administration at that lower level of governance. Almost nothing seemed to be in place. Administration has fizzled out completely. And that has left the country wondering if indeed we are running a federalism, as it were. And the attendant implication is what none of us is new to. We have seen how the drift, rural-urban drift, as a result of total negligence or complete breakdown of administrative...
So in other words, this is something that the party would have done themselves?
No, certainly. We probably would have done it earlier. It was contained in our manifesto when we went to ask Nigerians for. Yeah.
So, well, it does appear that some governors think that, because if you were to take a holistic reading, what he's done in the context in which the governor spoke was that, this ruling of the Supreme Court will need to be implemented. And, he says, from what I could gather, it appears is in conflict with what the Constitution stipulates. It's interesting because the Attorney General actually went to court to seek an interpretation of a part of the Constitution, which, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of granting financial autonomy. But right now, if you were to listen a little further to what the Attorney General of the state said, he says that they've had to come up with committees that would seek how to implement this particular judgment, at least in Oyo State. From your own reading, I do not know if you've seen the entirety of the judgment or the full body of the judgment. Do you think that this is something that states really need to sit and see how they can work out? Because this is a matter of joint accounts, now going to become separate accounts from what we can see. How do you think that is going to work out?
Well, we have to first of all trace the origin of all of this. Joint account came up the aftermath of following the creation of the 1999 Constitution, and Section 1626, subsection 6 of the Constitution, was what gave the rise for this local government, joint account, state joint account. But the advantage that was meant to provide has long been defeated by developments that we have come to see over the period. Essentially, it was to provide for checks and some semblance of fiscal federalism, where resources meant for a state could be supervised by the governor being the chief security officer of the state. That would have enhanced, efficiency, credibility, and, if you like, development at that level. Because leaving this local level without anybody having an eye on the funding will itself have some negative consequences, like we are likely to see, or like we have experienced in time past. So the Constitution, that section provides for the kind of influence that the governor will wield in his states to ensure that the resources that are meant for his people in the respective local governments are dispensed with for the purpose for which it was meant for. But sadly, that hasn't been the narrative. You discover that the resources have been kept at the mercy of the state governor, who determines what ought to be done for the people at the rural level. It did not stop there. It has empowered him. Of course, you know that he who controls the resources will be the one to determine the direction. And therefore, that has also, extended into determining who even becomes the local government chairman. We have seen situations where a governor will just unilaterally wake up from the wrong side of his bed. And the next thing he does is to dissolve, elected local government officials. And in place, he will put his cronies, as caretaker committees for a period of 2 or 3 years, to glorify or rather compensate the boys for the job they probably would have done for him before he assumed office. So this has been the trend. It has refused the local government the opportunity to even grow, stifling the resources and denying them even the powers to function effectively, as we used to see even in the days of the military. Mark, you recall that during Babangida's administration, there was this semblance of democratic governance at the local government, where local government was in the position to, renovate schools, build markets, and even bridges, and some of those developments were to a large extent a relief to even the state government and the central government. That way, people will not have to now move to the state government and then later to the, center to now compete for the little opportunities they are in. So if you allow these resources back to the original people for which it is meant for, and there will be direct disbursement from the Federation account, and the Attorney General should be empowered, and that is what the judgment is saying. So what the Supreme Court did literally was to invoke its original jurisdiction, which is to entertain the matter firsthand, as a court of first instance to make sure that it wields its powers. And then we are commending that judgment. It is going to be in the overall benefit of Nigerians, if you ask me.
You said a number of things, embedded in that, some of which is that, right now, many local government chairmen are not democratically elected. We've seen a number of elections taking place recently. Some states have now fixed dates for local government elections, but there's still the major problem of credibility of the emergence of local government chairmen. Only yesterday we saw Algon coming up with their own request, or let's say demand, that INEC be saddled the responsibility of conducting local government elections in different states. Is this something that you'll support too, or do you think that specific demands be made of CX, to reform and be able to conduct elections which people can really say, produce the people that they really wanted to emerge?
Well, the low-hanging fruits would be immediately, plugged or harvested the moment we allow the local governments, or we shift the electoral responsibility of local governments to the Independent National Electoral Commission. We will be defeating the entire reform if we allow CX to continue, as it has come to be it has come to be seen as the only common thing that local government, state governments are deploying, to take control of this local government. If they would take control of local government, which is farthest from them, then you can imagine what control they will exert on the State Independent Electoral Commission. So what they have done over the period is to ensure that the same boys, the same political affiliates, are given the responsibility of running that State Independent Electoral Commission, thereby ensuring that they have a total control, and they will determine who and what is done at that level. So I'm agreeing with you that what essentially needs to be done is to shift completely And that clamor is informed and provided for by law, that INEC should be the one now to superintend over local government election. At least we will see some semblance of electoral credibility if that's done, because over the period in question, we have seen a dismal performance from SECs across the states of the Federation. They just do what the governor instructs them to do, and that hasn't changed, and it will not change. Even when you now have the funding directly from the federal allocation federation account, you are still going to contend on the one hand with the problem of conducting election. Who gets there? They are going to literally be determined by the state governor if you do not allow this election to be controlled by INEC. So we are calling on that part of the reform to be inculcated. And I think that is the judgment that the Supreme Court gave.
What do you make of the argument that this decision appears to invalidate and expunge Section 1626 of the Constitution? Not exactly. 1626 is talking about the relationship or supervision of the local government. But what I mean by the state government, what is essential is whether we want to practice democracy and federal democracy to the letter. If that is essentially what we intend to do, and I think across, well, you hear Nigerians clamoring and commending this judgment. We seem to have 80% of Nigerians agreeing that that is the first step that will lead to democratic governance effectively. All of this struggle for resources and insecurity pervading the land and what have you, it's as a result of refusal of government, absence of governance at that local level. So indeed, what we are saying is that if we are truly going to practice democracy, federal democracy to the letter, and that is what the Constitution provides, then we have to allow local governments to function effectively and be disconnected completely from the state control, at least their funding and their assumption of office, which is election. So, but how much impact do you think this is going to make? Because for those who, but the federal, the states, when the state had it, the excuse was about security now. Sure. We don't have direct control. So what will be a fundamental difference with the local government system concerning security, for instance? No, the security is supposed to be exclusive responsibility of the federal government, as it were. That is providing security for everybody. It is everyone's business, family, local government, state government, and everybody. But the chief security officer of this country is Mr. President, who must ensure that every local government, 774 of them as it were, as we have, are provided security from the center. The governor has, as a chief security officer of the state, the responsibility to also ensure the entire local governments under him, and of course the state capital, is provided security. The local government chairman, and that will be possible, that will be facilitated if the funding is made available. You could see even with this anomaly that we have, local government, what do you call them, caretaker committee chairman, have been providing vigilante services, as it were. They will get some of these guys and then arrange them in groupings and ensure that these people are keeping vigil on household and neighborhood, at least with the meager resources at their disposal. So that's going to be enhanced if you have now direct control of funding from them. They will sit with the community people. And one thing that is going to be, for the benefit of this country, I will tell you in the first 1 year after this thing is restored, you will discover that everybody will know the chairman, because that is the beauty of this local government taking control of itself. Everybody knows the chairman, they know the councillor, they know every household, they know themselves. And you will discover that any stranger that is coming and all the activities that will be done for the benefit and progress of that community will be tied down to the chairman, to the councillor, and everybody in the community know them directly. And that will enhance participation, that will enhance inclusivity, and that would engender, what you call progressive governance, and everybody will feel part. And then you will see even a renewed commitment on the part of security, and that would... Is this complete? Yeah. Is this complete, though? Because if you say this, it could give people the impression that, oh yeah, if I know my local government chairman, probably because he was elected on the platform that, I can hold him accountable. But we still have the CX who are conducting the elections in the states. And chances are that, we've seen recent 2-3 last results, the party in question wins all the elections. So it appears as though, yes, you may get the fund, but they may just find a way to still be subservient or still tied to the pawn strings of the governors. So if we had, probably, if the elections were a little different, where different groups or parties, I mean, if you have somebody popular in a local government, he joins whichever party, he wins. That way, that participation perhaps becomes full-blown.
Exactly. You are just concurring what I said earlier. I am saying, and you are concurring to it, that the moment they have total control of their resources and independent National Electoral Commission supervises or superintends...
Is that likely going to happen, though?
It is. It's a question of determination. If we have political will on the part of the government, and on this one, I seem to be agreeing with them for the first time. I have been most critical of this APC-led federal government, Ahmed Tinubu's government. But on this one has to call a spade by its name. They seem to have taken the bulls by the horn. Don't forget the governors were the same people who made it impossible under Buhari-led federal government. But here, and that Buhari deployed executive order, it did not succeed. The governors went to court and got it. But here, you see, it has come through the same federal government going to court and then getting the judgment in their favor, which is in the interest of Nigeria, if you ask me.
It's a very interesting scenario, and one in which, to be very honest, I think that some people have said that we should exercise what they'll term cautious optimism. These are the hopes that we will have, I mean, as a result of financial autonomy coming into, local governments. But let's not forget that local governments, some local governments are as big as some states. When we imagine local government, sometimes we think it's community government. And some people say, look, it's not exactly community government. If the resources that are still coming to the local government are resources that are being shared without an intentional attempt at transparency, people might still be very much in the dark as to what exactly is happening within their local governments, given that not everyone is living in the local government headquarters. So how really do you think, I mean, well, yes, this is a wonderful development. Truly, how much, optimism can we really exercise, knowing that even knowing what comes to a state government, it hasn't really resulted in any development? And
that is essentially because you have difficulty in part in accessing who or what the local, governor of a state does. How many people gets to the local government? You have members of the House of Assembly who are also tied. Immediately they are elected, they become tied to the apron of the state governor. And then they are answering yes, sir, to him from morning till evening. But in the case of a local government, you will find out that, like I said earlier, the chairman of the local government, the councillor representing the ward, and virtually every other person in that local government secretariat is known by the locals themselves. They could directly access him, they know his house. And you talked about the size of a local government, sometimes as big as a state. And that is going to be to the advantage of that local government because they will have the capacity to generate revenue in-house for the development.
These are the hopes you have.
These are the hopes, and we have to be optimism. We have to be optimistic.
I just remember something. This local government that we're talking about, the only one we did this service. The only times a local government is
at the end of the month when salaries are coming.
They just come there, they share the money, everybody disappears. Nothing happens. That culture.
So don't there need to be like a major shift in the culture that this is not just money to be shared. This is money that should be, used for the good of all, for the betterment of everyone. And that there needs to be a change, a shift, even in the culture of the people who work in the local government.
There's a bill before the National Assembly that will check all of that. What the experience, I just watched recently, and it has gone viral, where someone saying that throughout his stay, and he was for 17 years as a local government director of personnel management, DPM, because like you stated, it used to be between the chairman, sometimes vice chairman, but chairman, secretary, and the DPM. These are the three characters that determine what happens at the local government level. And they hardly meet until 26th, 27th, when they're expecting subvention. And when it comes, they share under a tree in some cases. And then you discover that ends it. Nobody checks them. Yeah. It is an aberration, it is an anomaly, but here we are now having part of the reform agenda. Everywhere we will check that these people should ensure it will be stated, it will be made known, like we are seeing in every month, the FEC that is coming, the allocation that is coming to state, it's going to be made known to the locals themselves that this month you have collected so. If you don't see this money, your local government chairman must tell you what he did with this money. If he doesn't, you guys can go to his house and get him waylaid. You don't need anybody, you don't need to go through the, you don't even need to deploy energy saying that you're going to sue him. You get him directly because you can access him. because that is what you have not been able to enjoy.
Their local government.
Yes, that is what you have not been able to enjoy with state governors. You cannot access a state governor to question him on his programs, even if they are not in your interest. But the local government chairman does not enjoy such luxury because he has to live within the local government. You have to see him 24/7 throughout the month. And then he has to tell you the policy and the programs that he's going to, pursue with the resources that he has collected. Otherwise, you guys can have access directly to him. And some people are even saying that we can make it open for jungle justice so that the chairman can be, and it has been happening in any case.
Yeah, but do you also think that, do you also think that this is endangering local government chairman? Because in some instances, we've also been told about how the system has already been overburdened, with so much that it can do only so much what it currently has. I'll give you an instance. They talk about employing much more than local government can afford. Yeah. And this is something that has happened over the years, even with state governments, who are in charge of this is the Local Government Service Commission. So do you really think that we have been able to sit and say, look, what is really going to be coming to the local governments will be enough to look after them, their personnel burdens, and also have enough left to do some projects within the local governments?
It's going to be enough, Maokwe. We honestly need to have a control mechanism, and that's part of the reform, to ensure that local governments do not take programs or projects that they are not capable of shouldering, like the personnel that you're talking about. They can't go embarking on white elephant jobs when they do not have the wherewithal. And that is part of the reform. People are asked now to develop a renewed interest in ensuring that the administration of local government, and it's tied to the judgment that we have just gotten now. People should deploy more attention and energy in participation to ensure that what is meant for their local government is applied for the purpose of that local government efficiently. Otherwise, the essence will truly be defeated. I agree with you. What
effect do you think this will have on political parties at the grassroots level?
Increased participation. It will enhance governance. It will promote mutual and peaceful coexistence of Nigerians. It will strengthen development, as it were, and then people will have the opportunity to participate.
Even with SEC still in charge?
No, it is part of what we are saying now. SEC has been asked, and then the judgment is in favor of SECs abolished for
but it hasn't happened.
Local government. It will happen. We are just having one leg of the judgment. We will have to that effect.
Oh, there will be another leg?
Of course. Okay. It will not end at that.
You're a lawyer, so I mean, you're optimistic about that. That's good. But we hope that the way some people will know that local government chairman is not by you suddenly see a convoy. You see security chiefs around them, marrying new wives, buy big house. You can't come to my house like that.
Certainly, this will not be allowed because having come from this bitter experience this last 25 years, I think that's part of the reform to ensure that local government chairmen do not become some demigods again at the local level, and that essence will be defeated.
I hope they're listening because if you let me not say that, and they say the pigeon. Well, thank you for coming this morning. Mr. Ibrahim Abdullahi is Deputy National Public Secretary of the PDP. He's also a lawyer. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, we'll have some messages coming through. This one is from Austin. He says, something is fundamentally wrong. He says, look, we have refined petroleum products because we don't have working refineries. Today, we've got a Aliko Dangote refinery. Dangote started importing crude oil to refine. It's Nigeria. You just wonder what's going on here.
Well, taking a look at what Festus is writing back now, he says Port Harcourt refinery will be ready by December 2023. This is the 16th of July 2024, and no signs that the refinery will refine a litre of fuel for Nigeria's market soon. Nigerians were promised CNG buses, and none have been provided after 12 months. Too many unkept promises are the reasons why trust in government is very low in our country. It's doubtful if the priorities of the current government will ever be delivered.
And then we've got Pastor Law says, whatever is the reason why our refineries can be attributed to the major reasons Nigeria are suffering and lamenting. This is why they're not working. It requires political will to get the facilities working again and hopes the government at the center would rise to the occasion. So there you go. That is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain. So goodbye.
I look forward to tomorrow. Please stay with us. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
to vote, my dear.